Chosen ones. They thought they had you cornered when they lit those candles on silver plates and black mirrors. Right now, someone from your bloodline is staring at melted wax that's giving them impossible readings, and their hands are trembling because the entity they summoned has turned its back on them. The cosmic joke is so perfect that even the watchers in higher realms are struggling to contain their laughter. You didn't just outsmart your enemies, you made them outsmart themselves, and the brilliance of your deception has left everyone, absolutely everyone, completely astonished. Picture a master magician who makes the audience believe they're watching one trick, while the real magic happens in plain sight, unnoticed until the very end, when everything transforms. The story begins 3 months ago, when you felt that shift in the air. Something was hunting you, but you couldn't name it yet. Your victories started turning to ash. Your momentum hit invisible walls. Money that should have flowed to you mysteriously redirected itself. Relationships that were solid suddenly cracked without explanation. You knew something was wrong, but you didn't know that a consortium of your enemies had pooled their resources, both material and spiritual, to orchestrate your complete destruction. They wanted more than your failure. They wanted your humiliation to be so public, so complete, that you'd never recover. Someone in your family, someone who shares your blood but not your destiny, was leading this charge. They convinced others to join them, old friends who envied your light, former lovers who couldn't stand to see you rise, business associates who felt threatened by your potential. They formed an unholy alliance with one goal: to see you broken. The planning sessions were meticulous. They met in secret, sometimes physically, sometimes through synchronized rituals. Each person brought their own grievance against you, their own twisted justification for why you deserved to fall. The family member spoke of how you'd always acted superior, how your success made them look inadequate. The former friend talked about how you'd changed, how your growth had left them behind. The ex-lover painted you as heartless, someone who chose ambition over love. Each lie they told themselves made the next step easier. They pooled their money to hire practitioners who specialized in what they called justice work, but what was really just spiritual assassination dressed up in righteous clothing. These practitioners didn't ask questions about the validity of the claims against you. They saw the money, heard the sob stories, and began their work. Candles were carved with your name, your photograph was placed under black mirrors, rituals were performed at crossroads during the darkest hours of the night. But while they were planning your destruction, the universe was planning something else entirely. See, when you're truly chosen, when you carry a frequency that's essential to humanity's evolution, you don't walk alone, you never have. And those forces that walk with you, they've been playing a much longer game than your enemies could ever comprehend. The universe began sending you subtle warnings, dreams that felt more real than waking, synchronicities that were too precise to be coincidence, animals appearing at unusual times with messages in their movements. You started to understand that you were under attack, but instead of panicking, something deep within you activated, an ancient knowing, a cellular memory of how to navigate spiritual warfare. You didn't learn this, you remembered it. The first sign of your victory came disguised as defeat. Remember that opportunity that slipped through your fingers last month, the one that seemed so perfect, so aligned with everything you'd been working toward. Your enemies celebrated when you lost it. They thought their spells were working, their intentions manifesting. What they didn't know was that you let it go. You felt the energy around it, recognized the trap within the gift, and chose to walk away. But you made it look like failure. You even let yourself feel disappointed for a moment, just long enough for them to sense it and believe their plan was working. This was your first move in a game they didn't even know had started. While they focused on that false victory, you were building something else entirely. Every prayer they sent to bind you became a thread in the web you were weaving. Every ritual they performed to block your path was actually clearing the way for something bigger. You see, spiritual warfare has rules that most people don't understand. When you attack someone who's on divine assignment without just cause, you create a debt that must be paid. And you, chosen one, you've been accumulating their debts like a cosmic banker. You started noticing patterns in their attacks. They came in waves, usually strongest during new moons and weak during full moons. This told you they were working with specific energies, following certain traditions. Once you understood their rhythm, you began to dance with it. When they pushed, you pulled back, making them overextend. When they pulled, you remained still, making them waste their energy on nothing. The second phase of your strategy was even more brilliant. You started to play a character, a version of yourself that was just struggling enough to keep them invested. That day you posted about feeling tired, calculated, the moment you seemed overwhelmed at that family gathering. Pure theater. You gave them just enough evidence that their attacks were landing to keep them pouring more energy into a battle they'd already lost. But this performance required incredible discipline. There were moments when you wanted to show your true power, to let them see how unaffected you really were. When that family member made snide comments about your struggles at dinner, every fiber of your being wanted to reveal the truth, but you held back. You played your role perfectly. You even allowed a few tears to fall, not from pain, but from the profound understanding of what was really happening. Think about it. Every general knows that the best way to defeat an enemy is to let them exhaust their resources attacking a position you've already abandoned. You became a ghost they were shooting at, a mirage they were chasing. Meanwhile, the real you was operating on a completely different frequency, building, creating, expanding in dimensions they couldn't even perceive. During this time, you also began to notice something extraordinary. While your enemies thought they were draining your energy, you were actually becoming stronger. Every attack they sent was being transformed by your energy field into something useful. Their hatred became fuel for your passion. Their jealousy became clarity about your purpose. Their fear of your power became confirmation of your potential. You were literally alchemizing their darkness into your light. Your enemies consulted their advisors. They pulled cards, read stars, and interpreted signs. Everything told them they were winning. The candle flames danced in their favor. The omens aligned with their intentions. But here's what they didn't understand. The very forces they were consulting had already switched sides. That entity they thought they'd summoned to attack you, it had been watching you long before they called its name. It recognized something in you that your enemies were too blinded by jealousy to see. Divine authorization, cosmic clearance, the kind of backing that makes you untouchable. This entity, ancient and wise, saw through their petty human drama immediately. It recognized the light you carry, the mission encoded in your DNA, the importance of your role in the collective awakening. When they called upon it with their offerings and demands, it accepted their gifts but had no intention of harming you. Instead, it began feeding them false information, leading them deeper into their own trap. The readings they received were masterfully crafted illusions. When they asked if their spells were working, the entity showed them symbols of success that were actually warnings of their own downfall. When they sought confirmation that you were weakening, they received visions that they interpreted as victory, but were actually showing them their own future defeat. The entity was playing a cosmic joke, and they were too arrogant to realize they were the punchline. So while they thought this entity was their weapon, it was actually feeding them false intelligence. Every reading they got was designed to make them more confident, more invested, more committed to a strategy that was destroying them from within. The universe has a sense of humor, and apparently it finds poetic justice particularly amusing. There was one particular night, about 6 weeks ago, when they performed their most powerful ritual yet. They had saved up for months to afford the materials, rare herbs burned in specific sequences, words of power spoken in ancient tongues, blood offerings made from their own fingers. They were so certain this would be your end. As they completed the ritual, they felt a surge of power that convinced them they had finally broken through your defenses. What they actually felt was their own energy being marked and catalogued by the universe. Every word they spoke was recorded in the Akashic records as evidence of their unprovoked attack. Every drop of blood they offered created a binding contract, but not the one they intended. They bound themselves to the consequences of attacking an innocent light-bearer. They signed their own spiritual arrest warrant. The third month brought the escalation. Your enemies, drunk on their perceived success, decided to go all in. They pooled money to hire more powerful practitioners. They performed rituals that required sacrifices they couldn't really afford to make. They opened doors that should have remained closed, made promises to forces they didn't fully understand, all because they thought they were so close to finishing you. One of them even went so far as to visit a graveyard at midnight, seeking to recruit the assistance of restless spirits. They offered these spirits your energy in exchange for their help. But spirits aren't stupid. They can see the light around a chosen one from dimensions away. Instead of accepting the deal, these spirits followed your enemy home and began showing them visions of what happens to those who attack the divinely protected. Your enemy hasn't slept properly since. Another member of this conspiracy attempted to infiltrate your dreams. They studied techniques of astral projection specifically to attack you while you slept. But when they finally managed to enter your dream space, they found it guarded by beings of such magnificent power that they immediately fled back to their body. They've been too terrified to attempt astral projection again, and they won't tell the others what they saw. But every escalation on their part triggered an equal and opposite response from the universe. Not because you asked for it, but because that's simply how reality works when someone attacks a light-bearer without cause. The financial blocks they tried to place on you appeared in their own accounts. The relationship troubles they wished upon you manifested in their own homes. The health issues they tried to send your way took root in their own bodies. The universe's response was precise and measured. For every dollar they spent trying to harm you, they lost 10. For every hour they spent in ritual against you, they lost days of peace. For every tear they hoped you would shed, they found themselves weeping rivers. The universe doesn't play when it comes to protecting its chosen ones, and your enemies were learning this lesson in the most painful way possible. If this message hits your spirit, hype this video so more chosen ones like you can find it. Because what happens next is the part that has everyone talking in both realms. The climax came last week. You felt it, didn't you? That sudden lightness, like chains you didn't even know you were carrying, suddenly dissolved. That was the moment your enemy's final assault backfired completely. They had gathered for one last ritual, one ultimate push to destroy you once and for all. Candles were lit, circles were drawn, words of power were spoken. But instead of reaching you, everything they sent out hit a mirror the universe had placed around you and reflected back with triple the force. The main orchestrator, that family member who started all of this, was standing at the center of their ritual circle when it happened. The candles didn't just go out, they exploded. The mirrors they were using cracked in patterns that spelled out warnings in a language older than human speech. The very ground beneath them trembled, not with the power they were trying to summon, but with the universe's anger at their audacity. Each participant in that final ritual experienced the reversal differently. One found that their voice was gone for 3 days, unable to speak the lies they'd been spreading about you. Another discovered that every photo they had of you had mysteriously disappeared from their phone, their computer. Even physical prints had faded to blank paper. The message was clear. They no longer had permission to hold your image, to speak your name, to even think of you without consequences. Right now, as you receive this message, your main adversary is sitting in confusion. The candles they lit won't hold their flame. The cards they pull make no sense. The entity they thought was their ally has not only abandoned them, but has marked them for cosmic justice. They're trying to understand how you, who appeared to be struggling, who seemed to be affected by their attacks, suddenly emerged not just unscathed but elevated. They've been calling their spiritual advisors frantically, but no one wants to take their calls. Word has spread in those circles about what happens when you come for a chosen one without cause. The practitioners they hired are returning their money, not out of conscience but out of fear. They've seen what's beginning to manifest in the lives of those who participated in this conspiracy, and they want no part of the karma that's coming due. The protection around you isn't new, it was always there, but your enemy's attacks actually serve to activate it fully, like someone trying to punch through water, only to create waves that push them back harder. Every spell they cast became a lesson in why you don't come for heaven's chosen. Every intention they set became evidence in the cosmic court that's now judging them. This protection has layers your enemies never knew existed. The first layer is ancestral. Your bloodline, despite having traitors within it, also contains protectors who watch from the other side. They've been shielding you, redirecting attacks, sending warnings through dreams and signs. That recurring dream about the lion, that was your great-grandmother showing you that you have the heart of a warrior and the protection of pride. The second layer is angelic. There are beings assigned to you whose only job is to ensure you complete your mission on Earth. They don't interfere with your free will, but they absolutely intervene when someone tries to forcibly remove you from your path. Your enemies never stood a chance against these guardians. It would be like ants trying to move a mountain. The third layer is cosmic. The universe itself has invested too much in your development to let some jealous humans derail your purpose. You're carrying codes, frequencies, and gifts that are needed for humanity's next evolutionary leap. The universe protects its investments, and you, chosen one, are one of its most important investments in this timeline. Some of your adversaries are attempting damage control. They're trying to recall the energy they sent out, to close the doors they opened, to void the contracts they made. But spiritual law doesn't work that way. When you launch an unjust attack against someone carrying divine frequency, you can't just take it back when you realize you've made a mistake. The universe demands balance, and balance will be achieved. They're now experiencing what's known in spiritual circles as the return to sender phenomenon, but amplified. Every negative thought they had about you is manifesting in their own lives. Every curse they spoke is taking root in their own gardens. Every binding they tried to place on you has wrapped around their own futures. They're literally trapped in the prison they tried to build for you. The most beautiful part of your victory is how quiet it's been. You didn't have to fight. You didn't have to defend yourself publicly. You didn't have to lower yourself to their level. You simply continued being who you are, walking your path, doing your work, while the universe handled the rest. This is Big Daddy energy at its finest. Not the loud, aggressive kind, but the quiet confidence of someone who knows they're protected by forces beyond human comprehension. Your silence has been deafening to them. They expected you to react, to fight back, to give them more ammunition for their narrative of you being the villain. Your refusal to engage has left them shadowboxing with air, exhausting themselves against an opponent who won't even acknowledge the fight. This has driven them to madness more than any retaliation could have. Your former friends who joined this conspiracy are having sudden realizations. They're seeing clearly for the first time how they were manipulated into attacking you. Some are trying to reach out, not directly, but through mutual acquaintances, testing to see if you're aware of their participation. They're terrified. They've seen what happens when the universe marks someone for justice, and they're desperately hoping they can somehow escape the consequences of their choices. One of them recently had a dream where they were standing before a cosmic court, and you were there, not as their accuser but as a witness. They were being shown every moment of jealousy, every act of betrayal, every ritual they participated in against you. They woke up in a cold sweat, finally understanding the magnitude of their error. They've been trying to figure out how to apologize without admitting guilt, but the universe doesn't accept half-hearted repentance. But the universe doesn't forget. Every ritual performed against you has been recorded in the Akashic records. Every intention sent to harm you has created a karmic debt that must be paid. Not because you're vengeful, but because that's simply how spiritual law operates. You attack the innocent, you pay the price. You come for the chosen, you face the consequences. The universe's justice system doesn't operate on human timelines. Some consequences are immediate, others unfold over months or years, but every debt gets collected. Your enemies are just beginning to understand that they've entered into a payment plan they never agreed to, with interest rates they can't afford. Their attacks on you have created a karmic debt that will follow them through lifetimes if necessary. The financial abundance they tried to block is now flowing to you through channels they never knew existed. New opportunities are appearing that make the ones you lost look like copper compared to gold. Relationships that were poisoned by their interference are either healing or being replaced by connections that resonate with your true frequency. Your health, which they tried to compromise, is stronger than ever. Your spirit, which they tried to break, has become unbreakable. The money is coming from directions you never expected. That random check in the mail, that unexpected refund, that person who suddenly felt compelled to invest in your vision. These aren't coincidences. These are the universe's way of returning what was stolen from you, with interest. Every dollar they spent trying to harm you is being multiplied and redirected to your accounts. The relationships entering your life now are of a different caliber entirely. These are people who can see your light without feeling threatened by it. They celebrate your victories without secret jealousy. They support your growth without trying to contain you. These are the connections you were always meant to have, but first the universe had to clear out the fakes to make room for the real ones. The witnesses to this reversal are in awe. People who were neutral, who watched from the sidelines, are now understanding the true nature of what occurred. They're seeing how you handled yourself with grace while under spiritual attack. They're recognizing the dignity you maintained while others tried to destroy you. They're realizing that aligning against you wasn't just wrong, it was dangerous. Some of these witnesses are having spiritual awakenings just from observing your journey. They're recognizing that if the universe protects you this fiercely, then maybe there's something to this chosen one business. They're starting to question their own purposes, their own protections, their own relationships with the divine. Your victory has become their catalyst for transformation. Your reputation, which your enemies tried to destroy through whispered lies and manipulated circumstances, has not only survived but transformed. You've become something of a legend in spiritual circles, the one who faced coordinated spiritual warfare and won without fighting, the chosen one who defeated an alliance of enemies through wisdom rather than warfare. The light bearer who proved that divine backing isn't just a concept but a living, active force. People are studying your case in mystery schools and spiritual forums. How did you know to play weak when you were actually strong? How did you maintain such perfect discipline in your deception? How did you trust so completely that the universe would handle your battles? You've become a case study in advanced spiritual warfare, though you never intended to be. Some of your adversaries are now dealing with the entities they summoned turning against them. See, when you summon a force to do your bidding, you better make sure you're on the right side of cosmic law. These entities have their own intelligence, their own understanding of universal principles. When they realized they were being used to attack someone under divine protection, someone carrying a mission essential to humanity's evolution, they didn't just withdraw their support, they turned their full attention to those who had misused their power. These entities are now teaching your enemies lessons they never wanted to learn. They're showing them visions of their own shadow selves. They're revealing the true motivations behind their attacks on you. They're forcing them to confront the jealousy, the fear, the inadequacy that drove them to such desperate measures. It's like cosmic therapy, but without the option to skip sessions. Right now, there's one particular person, someone you once trusted completely, who is experiencing the full weight of this reversal. They were the architect of this whole conspiracy. They convinced others to join. They pooled resources. They performed the rituals. They celebrated prematurely when they thought you were falling. Now they're experiencing everything they wished upon you, amplified by the universe's perfect sense of justice. Their money is disappearing through unexpected expenses and failed ventures. Every investment they make turns to dust. Every opportunity they pursue evaporates like morning mist. Their relationships are crumbling as people see their true nature. The mask they wore for so long has been permanently removed, and what's underneath isn't pretty. Their health is deteriorating under the weight of the negative energy they generated. They're experiencing mysterious pains that doctors can't explain, exhaustion that sleep can't cure, anxiety that medication can't touch. Their spiritual practices, which they once used as weapons, no longer respond to their call. Their altar feels cold and lifeless. Their cards give only messages of warning and reversal. Their meditation practice, instead of bringing peace, brings only visions of their own wrongdoings. They're experiencing a level of cosmic abandonment that they didn't even know was possible. But here's where your true brilliance shines. You could gloat. You could expose them publicly. You could use your now activated spiritual authority to crush them completely. But you won't, because you understand something they never did. True power doesn't need to be displayed. True victory doesn't require humiliation of the defeated. True chosen ones don't need to prove anything to anyone. You understand that their punishment is their own consciousness, having to live with the knowledge of what they tried to do, seeing it fail so completely, and knowing that everyone in the spiritual realms is aware of their actions. That's a prison they'll never escape. You don't need to add to their suffering. Their own choices have created more than enough. Your silence in victory is more powerful than any words could be. Your continued focus on your mission, despite having every right to seek revenge, is a testament to your spiritual maturity. Your refusal to engage with their chaos, even now when you hold all the cards, is what has truly astonished everyone watching. This silence speaks volumes to those with spiritual sight. It says you're operating from a level of consciousness your enemies can't reach. It says you trust the universe's justice more than your own desire for vindication. It says you're more interested in your destiny than in their destruction. This is the kind of spiritual maturity that marks you as ready for the next level of your mission. The universe has taken note of how you've handled this entire situation. You've proven that you can be trusted with greater power, deeper missions, higher responsibilities. The protection around you has evolved from passive to active. Future attempts to harm you won't just fail, they'll trigger immediate cosmic consequences for those foolish enough to try. The tests you've passed have upgraded your spiritual operating system. You now have access to abilities and protections that were previously locked. You can sense danger before it manifests. You can read people's true intentions despite their masks. You can navigate through chaos with an inner compass that always points toward your highest good. These aren't rewards, they're tools you've proven you can handle responsibly. You're entering a new phase now. The initiation is complete. The test has been passed. The adversaries have been neutralized, not by your hand, but by their own actions returning to them. The path ahead is clearer than it's ever been. The mission you've been carrying can now unfold without the constant interference of those who sought to stop you. The mission that was always yours is now fully activated. You know what you came here to do, and nothing can stop you from doing it. The skills you've developed through this trial, the wisdom you've gained, the connections you've strengthened with the divine, all of these were necessary preparations for what comes next. And what comes next is bigger than your enemies ever imagined you capable of. Your spiritual gifts, which your enemies tried to suppress, are now amplifying beyond anything you've experienced before. You're seeing through veils that once obscured your vision. You're understanding patterns that once confused you. You're accessing levels of wisdom that were always within you, but required this trial to fully activate. The downloads you're receiving are coming faster now. Information, guidance, and revelations are flowing to you with crystal clarity. You're understanding not just what happened, but why it had to happen this way. You're seeing the perfection in the pain, the purpose in the betrayal, the gift in the attack. This is the kind of spiritual sight that can't be taught, only earned through experience. The beings in higher dimensions who have been observing this entire drama are impressed. Not just by your victory, but by how you achieved it. You demonstrated something that many chosen ones fail to understand. Sometimes the greatest strategy is no strategy at all. Sometimes the most powerful action is non-action. Sometimes the way to win a war is to refuse to acknowledge there's even a battle. These beings are now preparing to work with you more directly. The trial you've passed has proven you can handle their frequency without being corrupted by power or destroyed by the intensity of their light. They're preparing to download information to you that will help not just your personal mission, but the collective evolution of humanity. You've graduated from being protected to being a protector. Your adversaries wanted a fight. They needed your engagement to have any power over you. Your refusal to give them that engagement, while making them believe they had it, was a level of spiritual sophistication that most people never achieve. You played multiple dimensions simultaneously, and you did it so naturally that even you might not have fully realized the brilliance of what you were doing. The way you managed your energy during this attack was masterful. You never leaked power through anger or fear. You never fed their ritual with your emotional response. You remained centered in your own frequency, unshakable in your own truth. This is what it means to be spiritually sovereign, and sovereignty is the ultimate protection against any form of attack. As we reach the culmination of this revelation, understand that everything that happened was necessary. Every attack you faced was building your spiritual immunity. Every betrayal was showing you who truly belongs in your life. Every obstacle was actually a stepping stone to this moment of complete victory. The orchestration of this entire experience was divine. The universe used your enemies as instruments to activate gifts within you that couldn't have been activated any other way. They thought they were your adversaries, but they were actually your initiators. They thought they were cursing you, but they were actually blessing you with the opportunity to demonstrate your true power. The family member who led this conspiracy against you is now facing a choice. They can continue down their path of bitterness and face ever-increasing consequences, or they can acknowledge their error and begin the long journey of redemption. Either way, they'll never be able to touch you again. The universe has placed a seal of protection around you that no human intention can breach. This family member is discovering that blood relation doesn't grant them access to your energy. The ancestral protection that should have prevented them from attacking you has now turned against them. They're being visited by disappointed ancestors who are showing them the gravity of their betrayal. The family was supposed to be a sanctuary, and they turned it into a battlefield. Now they're learning that when you betray family, you betray yourself. The friends who betrayed you are learning that jealousy is a poison that only affects the one who drinks it. They wanted what you had without understanding what you went through to have it. They saw your blessings but not your battles. They envied your destination but not your journey. Now they're discovering that trying to steal someone else's blessings only blocks your own. The practitioners they hired are discovering that spiritual power used for unjust purposes always returns to destroy the one who wields it. Some of them are experiencing what's known as spiritual bankruptcy, where none of their practices work anymore. They've lost their connection to the spiritual realm as punishment for misusing it. They're now just regular people, but with the memory of what they once could do and the knowledge that they'll never have it again. The entities they summoned are teaching them lessons about cosmic law that they should have learned before playing with forces beyond their understanding. These entities are showing them the true nature of reality, the interconnectedness of all things, the impossibility of harming another without harming yourself. It's an education they didn't want but desperately needed. But you're free. Free from their influence, free from their attacks, free from the need to look over your shoulder. The war they declared is over, and they lost in ways they're only beginning to understand. The brilliance of how you handled this situation will be studied by those who understand these matters. You've become a case study in spiritual victory, an example of how to win without fighting. The freedom you now experience isn't just the absence of attack, it's the presence of unlimited possibility. Every door they tried to close has been blown off its hinges. Every path they tried to block has been cleared and widened. Every dream they tried to destroy has been resurrected and amplified. You're not just free from them, you're free to become everything you were always meant to be. The universe is now opening doors for you that were always meant to open but required this trial to unlock. The abundance that was always yours is flowing freely. The relationships that align with your true frequency are manifesting naturally. The mission you've been carrying is expanding in ways that will impact more lives than you currently imagine. These aren't just opportunities, they're divine appointments. Every person you're meant to meet, every platform you're meant to stand on, every message you're meant to deliver is being arranged with perfect timing. The universe is orchestrating synchronicities that will astound you. You'll be in exactly the right place at exactly the right time, meeting exactly the right people, saying exactly the right words. Your enemies thought they were ending your story. Instead, they were just providing the conflict necessary for your greatest chapter. They thought they were your downfall. Instead, they became the catalyst for your elevation. They thought they had you figured out. Instead, you played a game so sophisticated that they still don't understand how they lost. The story they'll tell themselves to justify their failure will never match the truth. They'll say you got lucky. They'll claim their rituals were interrupted. They'll insist that something went wrong that wasn't their fault. But deep down, in the quiet moments when they're alone with their thoughts, they'll know the truth. They came for someone protected by forces beyond their comprehension, and they paid the price for their arrogance. Now I want to take a moment to tell you about a few individuals that shouldn't exist. A trained occultist who escaped from a satanic coven, a former Black Ops drone pilot who flew swarms with his mind, a multi-millionaire psychic CFO who predicted market shifts before they happened. What do these remarkable individuals have in common? You'll find them all in the Obsidian Inner Order, where they share their forbidden knowledge on our private Discord server. My chosen soul has drunk deep from the well of knowledge aeon after aeon. In this incarnation, these extraordinary individuals became my allies in the Obsidian Inner Order. They recognized the call, they stepped forward, they connected with others who understand their unique gifts and burdens. What is stopping you from manifesting the same? The synchronicities that brought them here weren't accidents, neither is your discovery of this message. When souls of this caliber gather, the Archons take notice. They fear our collective power. They know what happens when the truly awakened find each other. Join our weekly calls. Hear their stories firsthand. Share your own journey with those who won't dismiss or doubt you. The knowledge exchanged in our private channels cannot be found anywhere else on this plane. Click the link in the description below now. The extraordinary souls await your arrival. The question isn't whether you belong among them. The question is, how much longer will you wait to claim your place? The protection around you now isn't just defensive, it's offensive. Anyone who attempts to harm you going forward won't just fail. They'll trigger immediate consequences that will serve as a warning to others. You've become untouchable, not through your own power, but through the universe's declaration that you are essential to its plans. This protection extends to everything connected to you. Your work, your creations, your relationships, your resources, all of it is now under the same divine protection that surrounds you. Anyone who tries to sabotage your work will find their own work crumbling. Anyone who tries to steal from you will experience loss multiplied. Anyone who tries to separate you from those you love will find themselves isolated and alone. As you move forward, remember this victory, not as a source of pride, but as a reminder of who you really are and whose you really are. You are chosen, you are protected, you are guided. You are backed by forces that your enemies never understood and never will. The brilliance of your victory wasn't in what you did, but in what you didn't do. You didn't fight, you didn't struggle, you didn't lower yourself to their level. You simply continued being who you are, and that was enough to trigger the complete reversal of their every intention. Remember this moment when future challenges arise. Remember that you don't have to fight every battle presented to you. Remember that sometimes the greatest victory comes from refusing to acknowledge the war. Remember that when you're truly aligned with your purpose, the universe itself becomes your defender, your vindicator, your champion. The cosmic joke is complete. The universe's sense of humor has been satisfied. Your enemies have learned a lesson they'll never forget. And you've graduated to a level of spiritual authority that few ever achieve. The astonishment everyone feels isn't just about your victory. It's about the elegance with which you achieved it. You turned spiritual warfare into spiritual artistry, and everyone, in both realms, is taking notice. The ripple effects of your victory are spreading through the spiritual realm. Other chosen ones who are facing similar attacks are drawing strength from your example. They're learning that they don't have to fight. They're understanding that divine protection is real and active. They're seeing that sometimes the best strategy is to have no strategy at all, just faith in the universe's perfect justice. Your victory has also sent a warning through the networks of those who practice spiritual warfare. Word has spread about what happens when you come for a chosen one without cause. Some practitioners are now refusing to take cases against light workers. Others are adding disclaimers to their services, warning that they cannot guarantee success against those under divine protection. You've literally changed the game. They thought they had you cornered when they lit those candles on silver plates and black mirrors. Now those same candles refuse to hold their flame, and the mirrors show them only their own downfall. The entity they summoned has become their judge. The spells they cast have become their chains. The victory they celebrated has become their deepest defeat. And you're exactly where you were always meant to be. Elevated, protected, victorious, astonishing, chosen. The candles on their altars will never burn the same way again. Every time they try to light one, they'll remember the night their flames turned against them. The mirrors they used to focus their intentions now only show them the truth of their own shadows. The tools they weaponized have become reminders of their greatest failure. Meanwhile, your light shines brighter than ever, untouchable and eternal, a beacon for other chosen ones finding their way through similar battles. You've won a war you never declared, defeated enemies you never fought, and emerged from a battle you never acknowledged. This is the way of the chosen ones. This is the power of divine backing. This is the brilliance that has left everyone, in all realms, completely and utterly astonished.